Yeah, thanks. Hindi pa naman nag-start. Second floor. Whatever. Thank you.
Like look at me and walk around and look at me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. We'll repeat it. Are you serious? Oh my God.
She's my teacher, actually. Yeah, about 10 years ago. I'm just seeing the way. Nice to meet you.
So no, I was in the office since like 8 this morning. No, I drove in 4 hours. On 30 between 7 and 8. Really great. Oh, that's right. That's right. That was in the office. So I drove down, found the park on the street, and got it up to so I was like, you caught me walking out of the bar. I was embarrassed. Oh, it was a restaurant. It's Thursday. know where you're going. If it's not Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. Parts of it. To me, that's like.
It's better designed that way. Everybody, it's one chair. The chairs are back there.
Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome. Just a few house rules before we officially begin. For our convenience and safety, there are bathrooms and marked exits when we get out of the studio. And also during our event, we'd like to ask you to mute your phones. And please arrive for apologies if you went to the wrong address. My bad. But please enjoy your food and drinks. We will begin shortly. And try to meet somebody new tonight. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're enjoying. Please take your seats right now so we can begin. You can enjoy your food at the same time, seated. This is going to be a relaxing evening. I'm sure of that. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out to the book launch of Parañaque in New York City, 50 Points by Therese Rodriguez. Therese is the CEO of Apicha Community Health Center and a steadfast leader in the empowerment and inclusion of people of color and LGBTQ+ communities in the U.S. This book event is a timely celebration of the Filipino history and Hispanic heritage this October. I'm Maribir Montebon. I am a New York-based journalist covering mostly Filipino communities in the East Coast. It's an honor to be your program host tonight. We are grateful for The Door for allowing us to use its welcoming space. And I'd like to introduce the CEO of The Door to welcome us here and to briefly tell us about its programs. Kelsey Louie is a native New Yorker and a public health leader with over 20 years of experience supporting underserved youth, families, LGBTQ+ communities, and communities of color. Before serving as the CEO of The Door, Kelsey served as the Chief Executive of Gay Men's Health Crisis Incorporated, the world's first AIDS service organization, and Chief Operating Officer and Program Officer at Harlem United. Kelsey received an MSW degree from NWU and an MBA from Columbia University. He is an adjunct professor at the NYU Silver School of Social Work. Please welcome Kelsey Louie.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce myself because it gives me another opportunity to say that I'm Kelsey Louie, the proud CEO of The Door and Broome Street Academy. I'm also the proud son of immigrant parents. And I just found out today that I'm the proud owner of the first copy of Parañaque to New York City. I was the first one to buy it. So a little bit about The Door. The Door was founded in 1972. We are a youth development organization that serves young people ages 12 to 24. We often serve up to 11,000 young people each year through a variety of programs. We have an FQHC on our lower level. We have runaway and homeless youth services, 95 beds of supportive housing, a robust arts program. You're sitting in our dance studio right now. Legal services, where we mostly do immigration work, which is why hosting this book launch is really important to us. And mental health services, substance use services, and basically anything a young person needs to survive and thrive. So thank you for being here, and we are a proud host of this book launch, and we are proud supporters of Therese. I think I'm going to have a chance later to talk about how much I love Therese, but don't we all love Therese? Come on, right? And so, being one of the first owners of this book, I have read it several times, and I have realized that it's not just fun for me to read and to learn more about Therese in this way, but I actually think it's an important read for new New Yorkers that come to The Door. It's an important read for staff who work with immigrant youth. And so because of that, I'm proud to announce that The Door will be purchasing 100 copies of the book. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. I'm proud to play with this iPad until I see my remarks. Okay, so let's welcome the Vice Chairperson of Apicha, Lee Hung Lin. Lee Lin is a registered nurse by profession and has over 40 years of experience in healthcare administration. She has served as ambulatory care administrator at Presbyterian Hospital and the Community Healthcare Network. Lee Lin is currently an adjunct professor at NYU and assistant professor at LIU College of Nursing. Please welcome Lee Lin, Vice Chair of the Board of Apicha.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you so much for coming here tonight to support Apicha Community Health Center and our incredible leader, Therese Rodriguez. It is truly inspired to see so many of you coming here today and to support our mission. Our mission is to deliver high quality, whole person and culture competent and inclusive care. And we also want to pursue equitable care, and we want to deliver our care in a welcoming manner. So that's our mission. We are so proud of building our tradition, serving AAPI, LGBTQ plus individual, and also people living with HIV. Your presence here tonight and your support directly contribute to the life-changing event of the life-changing work we do every day. Apicha goes above and beyond traditional healthcare. Traditional healthcare, okay, we treat people, but we really don't go into the bread and butter of the person. We talk so much about social determinant of care, but what exactly is social determinant of care? It's really go into the detail of their life, what impact their care, their life, and how can we make their life even better. So, I'm a proud member of part of Apicha community. What we do is not just taking care of patients, we also taking care of the issues that they face on a daily basis. For instance, if anyone who come to our center tests positive for HIV, we don't just send them home. We find a way and we advocate to find a medication to help them to live a healthy life. If we have anyone who is looking for asylum, we help them to navigate the complicated system to go through their process. And if we have transgender client who needs specialty care, and the insurance company or their insurer deny their coverage, we are fighting for their right to make sure that they get all the care they can. So again, I'm very pleased to be, I'm very proud and pleased to be part of Apicha community. And again, thank you for coming here on your busy night. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Lillian and Kelsey. That was a good surprise, Kelsey. The book is sold. Thank you so much. And so at this point, I'd like to introduce the publisher of the book. And she is Miss Joy Lumawig Buensalido. She is the founder and CEO of Buensalido Public Relations and Communications, which she set up in 1983 after a 5-year stint as PR account director in a multinational advertising agency. Joy's 4 decades of experience include being a communications professor in 2 Philippine universities, a contributing writer to the book How to Make It in PR. She is also publisher and co-author of a coffee table book, 100 Women of the Philippines, which included Therese. and author of the book titled Pinoy Manners, which won a National Book Award in 2018. In 2022, Joy's company added publishing among its many services. It has published 4 new books, among them PR Matters, a communicator's guide to the dynamic world of public relations, which she co-authored with 17 other members of the local chapter of International Public Relations Association. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have Ms. Joy Guencelido.
Good evening, everyone. I think we're the only ones representing Parañaque here tonight because I came with my family. I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm here. We flew from the Philippines with my husband, Dr. Gonzalido, 2 Dr. Gonzalidos. One is an infectious diseases specialist. Another is a dermatologist, Dr. Giselle, and my daughter, Monique, who worked with me on the launch of Therese's book in the Philippines. So, thank you so much for inviting me. Tonight seems like a perfect combination of the book, which she actually called Parañaque to New York. Because as Therese and I met as children, so we've become lifelong friends many years, many decades ago in Parañaque. And here we are today in New York to launch her book of poetry in the city that she now calls her home. For those of you who don't know, the idea for the book started with me wanting to give it as a personal gift to Therese. I wasn't going to publish it for public consumption, but just as a gift to Therese, because she and I have been regularly communicating from Parañaque to New York. She would come home, I would come here, so we'd always be in touch. But Therese told me one day that she had a compilation of poetry that she said she wanted to share with me. So I said, yeah, can I take a look at it? And when I saw it, I was enthralled, and I told her, can I please publish it? And she couldn't believe it. She said, it may not be worth it. Are you sure? I said, no, the pusher and me, I'm in PR. So I did my bit on her, and she agreed. So that was the first, the first step. But of course, when the pandemic happened, and I told her that, let's do it now while people are not doing anything, and I can start to have it published. So it took us 2 years to publish it. And so here we are. I am so proud to be part of the book, because I figured this book would be a wonderful gift, not only to her friends and family, but to our town of Parañaque, where we both grew up. Of course, that was many years ago already. The book is a beautiful reflection of Therese's unique life experiences and her distinct point of view, and of course, her astute storytelling. Every page, every word, every emotion that each poem carries is a reflection of her life, her relentless passion for work, as in here, Apicha, and everything she loves. So, tonight, I'm not going to make it long. I'm just going to say congratulations again to my friend Therese. And I want to say, now that your books are sold out, you're ready for the next book. So
Thank you, Miss Joy. It's really lovely to have friends like that. Amazing. So my task now is exciting for me and a big honor, because I'm going to introduce to you our star, our author. It's my great pleasure to introduce Therese Rodriguez, a woman whose life embodies resilience, activism, and leadership. Her unwavering dedication to justice and equality has shaped lives and communities. And we're here today to mark another milestone in a remarkable journey that spans continents and causes. Shortly after she left the Philippines in 1972, Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law. Upon that declaration, Therese joined the Union of Democratic Filipinos, tirelessly fighting against dictatorship and for Filipino-American rights for nearly 2 decades. In 1977, she joined the Asian Pacific Islander Coalition on HIV/AIDS, now Apicha Community Health Center, where her leadership has been instrumental in advancing healthcare access for Asians and Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ+ individuals, and people living with HIV/AIDS. Under her leadership, Apicha has championed the underserved communities for resources, representation, and culturally inclusive care that they deserve. While spearheading Apicha's transformation as CEO of an organization with over 120 employees, Therese found time to write a book of poetry that beautifully captures her journey from her homeland to her adopted country. The idea of a book took root in 2022, marking her 50th year in New York City. In her review of Therese's book, San Francisco-based editor Elaine Ellinson wrote, "Therese has added a sparkling new voice to the poetry of witness, which has long and distinguished history in the world of literature. Her memoir in poetry offers a unique perspective of her life as a Filipina immigrant, lesbian, political activist, and public health pioneer." Last February, Therese successfully launched her book in her hometown of Parañaque in the Philippines. And now, in a full circle moment, she brings her story home to New York, sharing with us the reflections of her remarkable life. It is truly an honor to welcome Therese Rodriguez.
I still have my folder. Anyway, thank you, Mary Beer, for your very generous introduction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kelsey. Through the years, Kelsey has been there for Apicha, providing 101s for our first application to be a federally qualified health center. A thinker and a joyful warrior in HIV, LGBT, and Asian and Pacific Islander work. And in a very personal way, he has almost never missed an Apicha gala to hear my speech, he says. A great cheerleader and salesperson for my book, and that tonight is a proof of that. Thank you too to the Doors Chief of Staff, Ted Kane and Sunny, who gave their time and attention to help us prepare for the use of this space. And most of all, the friendship they extended to Apicha. I am most grateful to our event sponsors, the AIDS Center of Queens County, Amida Care, Apicha Community Health Center, Vencelido Public Relations and Communications, CAI Global, Filipino American Press Club of New York, SAGE, the Alliance of Positive Change, The Door, and Women and Media. My heartfelt appreciation also goes to everyone who made this book a reality. My publisher, Joy Vencelido, who's here with her family, Dr. Adrian, and Dr. Vencelido, and Monique Vencelido. Thank you to my editor also, he's not here, Mila de Guzman, an author in her own right. And if John Farila is here, he was my graphic artist. Thank you for the work that we did together. And a special thanks to Sheila Coronel, who I never imagined would write the foreword to the book. It was just such an exciting time when we learned that she would write the book. And Joy and I were screaming on the telephone saying, how did we do that? Well, it happened. And to my family who are here, I have a nephew and I have nieces here and friends who grew up in Parañaque. And without their love, this project would not have been possible. And please allow me also to acknowledge the presence of the Apicha book launch staff team. Please raise your hand. As I mentioned your name, Mehila Mihay is over there. James Han, Juan Cruz, Julian Rodriguez, Leonard Pantay, Mandy Magahon, Phil Miner, and Maravilla Montalban. And all of the Apicha staff, please stand up. Thank you. And thank you to the members of the board who are here to support the event. Lee Nong Lee, who you heard earlier, James Luisi over there, and James Young. And to my colleagues from the LGBTQ plus and HIV service advocacy organizations, is Barbara Chicatelli here. And so these are the organizations that are here: CAI Global, LGBTQ plus Advisory Committee to the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the LGBT Community Center, Amida Care, the interim Dean of the Asian American and Asian Research, John Chair is here. Kelsey Louis, Kimberly Smith of Kallenborg, Kyrie Madhav of SAGE, Nanette Honko of Hope Masa, Mars Custodio HIV Memorial Fund, ACQC, Sebastian Macquarie, Seeking Asylum and Finding Empowerment is here. Sharon Duke of Alliance for Positive Change. And to our new friends in the Filipino-American media and community, GMA Network, ABS-CBN, Vox Media, PhilAmNet, Awesome Media, Asian Journal, Philippine Chamber of Commerce, also from the community, Filipino-American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and to my high school classmate, Desmi and her husband. So, now, why poetry? My poetry teacher, Miss Miraflora, must be rolling in her grave. I did not appreciate poetry then and barely passed English grammar. I am more of a storyteller. I listen and hear the fears, the pains, and the joys of others, learning how to express the needs of folks who cannot speak for themselves, conveying their hopes and possibilities, helping articulate a vision for a better world. This is what my upbringing by my family, the Parañaque town elders, the progressives, and activists had taught me. This is the kind of poetry you will find in my book. Poetry also liberated me from rigid writing rules. It allows me to meander, to take a snapshot of the moment, then linger, making note of how an event or an idea affected me. I find the process empowering because it gave me license to be completely honest and vulnerable, unfettered by the mores and taboos in our community. Writing poetry has also allowed me to include relevant historical nuggets that can help readers gain a broader perspective in looking at life with all its complexities and hopefully enrich their compassion and love for other human beings. Furthermore, poetry gives me the vehicle to analyze and understand contemporary events in our country and abroad, currently racked by misguided anger, misinformation, and disinformation. Listening to African American speakers at community gatherings also helped me to inspire me to write poetry. I admire the poetic cadence in their words, their courage to speak truth to power, and their unfailing hope for a better world. Other than the poems I had written to punctuate my speeches at Apicha and other public events, many are quite private. I share my feelings of loneliness in living by myself during the pandemic, the breakup of my lesbian relationship, the loss of my loved ones, and my struggles to portray the beauty of humanity. Despite these difficult challenges, I thought those poems were only for myself, but I started sharing them with a number of friends and colleagues. They all encouraged me to share my poetic memoirs more widely. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, my friend and publisher Joy, who had read my collection of poems, offered to publish my book as a gift to honor our long and deep friendship and our beloved hometown of Parañaque. Again, maraming salamat sa iyo and your staff in the Philippines. When people ask me to write, when people are asked to write, some would always say, I have nothing to say. Through this book, my first creative effort, I would like readers to come away demystifying and further appreciating writing. Oral history via image and ray is a wonderful way of connecting us, helping us understand one another, building bridges across our differences. It is also an invaluable way of memorializing our experiences and lessons for generations to come. While responding to the day-to-day demands of my role as CEO of Apicha, I soldiered on these last 2 years after work and weekends to complete my manuscript, despite all my doubts and apprehensions about sharing my stories widely. Parañaque and New York City, two iconic places from different parts of the world that nurtured me as a person, as a woman, a lesbian, as an immigrant, and as a responsible member of humanity. Parañaque gave me the foundation in terms of moral values, concern for others, and spirituality. New York helped in furthering my personal journey, allowing me to be what I have become, to live to the fullest that I could wish for, and to contribute as best as I could for the betterment of society, particularly its marginalized members. An open heart without borders, without nationalities, and tirelessly overcoming barriers in order to achieve equality, quality healthcare, and empowerment for the underserved communities. These are the guideposts that define by more than 2 decades of Apicha. I find meaningful joy in diligently pursuing our organization's mission, overcoming difficulties, and celebrating our successes. The sense of fulfillment has carried over into my own personal life, where I found a safe space to achieve symmetry, balance, and creativity as I navigate my golden years. Parañaque and New York bookend my life journey. However, I hope that New York does not signal the beginning of the end, but rather an opening of another chapter in continuing my commitment to serve our community and further exploring my creative self through poetry. I hope that my work at Apicha will stand the test of time and help serve as a legacy for generations to come, that community service is a life worth living. All the donations for obtaining the book will go to Apicha, which has given me so much unwavering support for my book launch and professional life. In closing, I wish to thank everyone for everything you do to navigate the increasingly complicated world that we live in, and hope that we can push back the hate, heal the divisions, and collectively build a better, kinder, and more peaceful future. Again, I appreciate you all for being here tonight. I look forward to hearing your thoughts during the questions and answers.
How so amazing. Thank you so much, Therese, for the inspiration you've given us tonight. Poetry, I think, is an engine. Sorry about that word, engine, for us to sustain our lives as we continue to choose the advocacy of helping others. So thank you for your poetry, Therese. So now we are going to proceed to poetry reading. And it is my pleasure again to introduce to you a woman that is a mentor and an inspiration for many of us journalists. I'd like to call on Ms. Sheila Coronel, who wrote the foreword of the book Parañaque to New York City. She is a distinguished journalist and the director of the Tony Stabile Center for Investigative Journalism at Columbia University. Ms. Coronel co-founded the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, and she received the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Journalism, Literature, and Creative Communication Arts in 2003. She was also an awardee for Columbia's highest honors, the Presidential Teaching Award in 2011. Sheila has been a mentor for me on investigative journalism. Thank you for because of the PCIJ that she co-founded since my journalism days in the Philippines. It's an honor to introduce her to you, the brave and brilliant but down-to-earth Sheila Coronel.
Thank you, Maribel, for that introduction. I didn't know Therese, but I read her poetry before I even met her. And it resonated with me because it speaks so much about the Filipino immigrant experience, about the hopes and aspirations of Filipinos in America. So what I'd like to read to you tonight is a poem called Aha. And to me, it really reflected my own experience coming to New York from the Philippines. Therese talks about not being aware of the time difference between Manila and New York. She talks about getting lost in the streets of New York. She talks about her encounters on the bus, her confusion, her befuddlement. And I'm sure everyone who's been an immigrant can empathize with this. So, Therese, if you don't mind, I will read your poem. Aha. I had an aha moment recently. I had thought seasonal time change, fall back, spring forward, was a freak of nature. Until I read in the news, it was debated and set by the US Congress. Bright. Born and raised in the Philippines, came to the US at 23 on 17th of July, 1972. I had no idea that New York time is 12 hours behind Manila. Finally, I got it. Stopped waking up the maids back home. 12 o'clock midnight in New York is just the right time to call Manila, to call Mama while she is having lunch. One Saturday, when I first came to the United States, I visited the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue. Done with library business, walked down the steps, waited at the sign for the downtown bus, guitar case in hand, and books held tightly against my chest. I waited patiently for the M22 until I read the sign, no standing. Shaken that I was in violation of the law, but afraid I might miss my ride, I began to pace back and forth, taking normal steps, careful not to look like a new immigrant. Bus stop to 42nd Street corner, back to the bus stop to 42nd Street corner, back to the bus stop to 42nd Street corner, back to the bus stop. My old country baggage in tow. It's not enough to speak English well. The bus came. I sat beside a middle-aged white lady. Where do you come from? The library, I answered. No, where do you come from? The library. Befuddled, Indignant, she muttered under her breath, "Go back to where you belong." She stood up, kicked me. "Welcome to America, Therese." "May I have a chicken sandwich? White, wheat, or roll?" Transported back, chicken sandwich. Why so many questions? In Divisoria, you asked for a sandwich. "Come on, lady, I haven't got all day." Toasted, tomato, lettuce, mayo. Oh, tasty please, no tomato, no lettuce. Yes, mayo, just a sandwich, please. August 19, 2011. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sheila. Oh, I'm sure everybody would remember how we were when we just came into New York, right? That helped me rush my memories back too. So now let's hear from our CEO of the Door to read his favorite poem. Come on up here, Kelsey.
So, I speak in public all the time, and I don't get nervous, but I'm nervous tonight. I mean, I guess it's like, I imagine like if I were a singer, this would be like doing a cover of a Taylor Swift song in front of Taylor Swift. And so Miriam was very polite, very kind in asking me to read and asked me which poem I would read. And I thought, oh gosh, like, how do I pick? But I knew which one. I mean, I've always had a favorite, kind of like a parent, right? You know who your favorite is. Like, I knew which was my favorite, but I was just too nervous to kind of commit to it and say, like, I will get up and read in front of Therese. So she emailed me again. I was like, okay, better answer. And then actually, but I read her email and she says, we suggest this poem, which is the one I would have picked. And I was like, great, that's the one I would have picked. So why did I pick this one? So I heard Therese tell the story of this poem at an Apicha Gala, and so she wasn't lying. I would go to the Apicha Galas just to hear Therese speak. And you know, when you know somebody and you think they're brilliant, and you think they're smart and they're a great leader, and that's wonderful. But then after I heard her speak this poem, I realized on top of all those amazing qualities, she was also a badass. And I was like, and so, you know, when sometimes when you meet somebody, you don't realize how significant they'll be in your life. So you actually don't remember the first time you met that person. So I actually can't remember the first time I met Therese. But I remember the first time I fell in love with her was when she read this poem, which is why I selected it. Therese, you have been a secret mentor of mine for so long. She's been so kind to say that I've been a partner. That's a very kind word. But much of the leader I am today is because of you. Watching you, being in your presence, learning from you, asking you for advice. Those dinners where you thought they were friendly dinners, that was me picking your brain. And she was so kind and humble to not even realize it. And the wisdom that you've shared with me over the years, I treasure and you see reflected in my work every day, so thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best. So this poem is called The Alphabet, Not for Prime Time by Therese Rodriguez. This is my favorite. When I first came to the United States, I thought that it would be less of a drain on my family resources if I found a job while still trying to figure out what higher studies to pursue. My cousin Primitivo Carlos was working as an accountant at Native Textiles on Fifth Avenue in the mid-20s in Manhattan. The company imported expensive fabrics woven in Ireland, England, and Germany. Its clients were manufacturers of well-known men's suit brands like Hart, Schaffner, Marx, Hickey Freeman, Yves Saint Laurent. On my first day, I was told to work with a senior building clerk. "Hi, my name is Therese Rodriguez," I said. "I am Melanie Yutzi. Where are you from?" Melanie was slim and tall, probably in her 30s, had very dark hair, and a rather high-bridged nose. Filipinos are very particular about the height and breadth of noses. We come from the Malay race. We have flat and wide noses. Through centuries of colonial rule, Spanish, then Hollywood, we have come to define beauty according to our colonizers. Fair skin with high-browed noses, high-bridged noses. As children growing up, our noses would be pinched constantly in the hope that the bridge would be sharper. "The Philippines," I answered. "How about you?" I asked. "I am a Jew," she replied. Being Catholic, I was raised on stories that Jesus Christ was killed by the Jews. I did not know how to react to this real-life biblical persona before me. Awkwardly, I said, "This is the first time I've ever met a Jew." However, this is so funny. However, bred in the teachings of the Second Vatican Ecumenical Council, I thought it better not to associate Melanie with the Pharisees. I worked well with Melanie. After being proficient in computing discounts, sales taxes, and sending off invoices, I was ready to be trained for the next process. I was introduced to Anne Shore. Anne was fair-skinned, sharp, tiny eyes, her blonde hair severely coiffed. She was in her late 50s. She wore printed polyester dresses and walked about like a teacher. Frank Franco, our Ecuadorian supervisor, called her in and asked her to teach me the office filing system. Friendly enough, she escorted me towards the bank of filing cabinets, pen in hand. She set down a yellow pad on a counter. "First thing you have to learn," as she writes down on the paper, A, B, C, the alphabet. I was stunned. Whoa, whoa, whoa. She kept writing. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Finally, I found my voice. "Anne," I protested, "I have 2 college degrees." Unconvinced, she continued. Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That was one of the first lessons in my American journey, particularly USA. And as I became more American, I learned that in another language, the alphabet goes A, B, C, D, E, F, U. I must admit, I have used it, but sparingly, really in anger and in frustration. Could it have been handy then? Just so I could stop her on her tracks? Therese to her was equal to the color of my skin and the accent in my voice. It could have had some effect, but I still get embarrassed when I use it. Where I grew up, it would have been met with stern consternation. Sorry, Ma. I know. I have to go to confession. Thank you.
That was funny and truthful. That's why it's funny. So, are you having a good time? You're nourishing yourselves? And now it is our privilege to listen to the author read her poems to us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up to Therese Rodriguez.
It's just so different to hear the poem from somebody else.
Sorry.
It's more alive because those were in my mind. writing them, but to hear that, just thank you both, Sheila and Kelsey. I'll read the poem Stones. I wrote it for our 2716 gala. And at that time, the atmosphere was just to continue, experiences of black young men just being killed in the streets. And in this case, it was in the courts that he failed even to get justice. Stones. In the jungle of Ferguson in the county of St. Louis, in the state of Missouri, a white policeman on a hunt, a game, licensed to kill blacks, and did. Found not guilty by a white judge, another murderous act unpunished. How many mountains should be leveled to have enough stones and rocks to hurl at Goliath as David did? The only weapons of anger or frustration, yes, the glass doors and windows shatter, alarms wail, cars overturn, explode in fiery scrappy mess, looters claim what they can carry, no cash registers to fall in line on, just a mad rush through those kicked indoors. Main Street, store owners, collateral victims, life savings, swept away the morning after. In the streets, vivid replay, centuries of grievance, of ancestors hanging from tree limbs, bleeding hands doing back-breaking work on sun-soaked earth for the owner to claim full profit of land enslaved. Abuse of power, absolute, immovable as mountains. Black bodies so young, lying in caskets, drowning in mother's tears, cemeteries filling up with their bones and ashes. Prison cells bursting with bodies corralled behind cold iron bars, snatched from mothers, fathers, partners, sons, daughters, and community. Piles of human debris, mountains of despair, seeking breathing space for a society where white supremacy is God. Congregations in the street angrily sing and chant like the Ugandan character in the Book of Mormon, Hasadiga Ebowa. Hearts hardened like stone, anger transformed, liberated. Only hearts can dream. Dreamers join, scaling the thorny and rocky terrain of a steep climb up the Golgotha to unburden the cross on the mountaintop. Young black men, children of Newtown and Parkland, bodies pierced with bullets akin to Malcolm X's and that of Martin Luther King Jr.'s. Their spirits live on in Black Lives Matter, Parkland, High School, Me Too, movements which now bear the burden of the dream. A summit at the top of the world, where the compass points nowhere, no north-south, no east-west. In the Japanese tradition of kintsugi, mending broken jars with gold, finding beauty in broken things, an imperfect paradise, but paradise nonetheless. Ode to Apicha. Pushed out by the mother of all epidemics, pulled by midwives, women of civil rights. Men, young and gay, gasped a mouthful of fresh air, then cried, "Other no more." Baptized Asian and Pacific Islander Coalition on HIV/AIDS, nicknamed Rebel with a cause. Called society out on its blindness. You are born to be keepers of brothers and sisters. From Olympus, they intervened, Umberto, Ira, Barbara. These gods gave you favor, whose words you do, whose work you do. Naysayers heard from less and less, now say little else. On your 25th, the unexpected, catapulted, still dreaming. Dreaming is about hope. Pills alone do not cure broken hearts and mangled existence. Hope is the element that unfastens a stifled soul. A soft breeze caressing one's face, life a little warmer, a bit carefree, life in a state of grace, and a mind at peace. Dream to wash away the tears of a life filled with nightmares, a state-of-the-art safe space. LGBTQ plus sheath in love and care at the Apicha Community Health Center. Hopefully, dreams do come true. Thank you.
Thank you, Therese. What can I say? You know, in our conversation with Therese, I was interviewing her, and she told me that the morphosis of Apicha feels like she's managing a tacos truck and converting it into a restaurant because the challenge is huge. And that could be a point too, from tacos to a full-blown fine dining restaurant. That's just me. I'm speaking my mind. Now let's proceed to the QA, ladies and gentlemen. And before that, I have a person to call in front, and he is Glenn Magpantay Esquire. He is Apicha Senior Director of External Affairs and a longtime civil rights attorney, professor of law and Asian American Studies and LGBTQ rights activist. Last year, the U.S. Senate appointed him to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights to advise Congress and the White House on the enforcement of civil rights laws. Come on now. Attorney Glenn Magpantay. Glenn, you may please ask the first question to Therese, and everybody can also ask questions thereafter.
Will you sign my book? I'm just so excited to be here. You know, the one thing I have to say after having done this, sitting in the background and listening to the beautiful stories and everything that was said tonight. In social change and in advocacy, we talk about storytelling. Because in storytelling, people understand our experiences and our struggles, and it is another way of communicating. In 10th grade, I had a teacher who told me poetry is the most sophisticated form of communication, and it is another form of storytelling. So Therese, thank you so much for this book and these stories that capture our experiences. It was really great. So I have just one question that I want to start off with, and then I'm the starter, so that we're going to go around and you all can ask questions, but we know no one wants to ask a question the first time. So I get to do that, so get ready for all of you. But Therese, you dedicated, in this book, you dedicated the book to your mom, your nanay mo, your grandmother, Nandola, and your auntie, your aunt. How did these very special women inspire you and help you become the person who you are today?
My grandmother was widowed at age 40 with 8 children, and she was born at the turn of the 19th century. And at that time, women were not, what we see today, where they earn a living. So that's, and so she had to take care of 8 children. My mother was the youngest, and she was only 8 months. My grandmother studied as a finishing school to
and has a fine arts, schooling. And with that, with the difficulty that she had to face, what she did was to turn her skills of art into the embroidery system in Parañaque, right? And so her sense of design, created a very robust embroidery, industry in our town. And with the cash flow, she also saw the need to purchase, properties and began to manage them. My mother, there were 9 of us, 10 actually, one died at at birth. My mother, had to deal with, a broken marriage. And with the help of my grandmother and my aunt, she was able to take care of us 9, but also she assisted in taking care of the properties. But she also began to develop a much more commercial approach to the properties. So then my aunt is really a mathematics, genius, and they all loved music, and she was a conductor, and most of her life is committing to the work of the church, and at that time that was the community work that was needed in order to take care of the poor and the charity. So in them I saw really a whole lot of ability to overcome their difficulties and thrive. And in that picture of these women, they were the model. They were the women model. They were women, before their time. And so, but they also imbued in me a sense of the religion, because we were very devout Catholics. And even when I was really moving away from that kind of the traditional, very rigid religion, they never in any way, had an attitude of being punitive towards me. They just allowed me to be who I am. And so that's the kind of upbringing that I had. They allowed me to really chart my own path and journey. And when they say, the only thing that they said that disappointed them about me is that they really wish that I had become a man. And so, because that was part of the trajectory of women at that point. But, sorry. It didn't happen.
Thank you so much for that.
So anybody here would want to ask a question? You can just, the microphone is with Julia, is going to give it to you. Anybody wants to ask a question? Yes, sir. And please may you identify yourself. Thanks.
Hi, I'm a board member of Apicha, and
Flip it.
wrong end. I wanted to ask Therese if she had any qualms or regrets about coming here, learning, making a life here, and not going back and contributing to life back there.
No qualms at all. I think that the ability to be very authentic about one's sexual orientation was what my travel to New York afforded me. And when you are freed of all that sense of hiding and being closeted, it becomes such a powerful engine to really keep discovering what humanity is and what your own humanity is about. So I feel that although there's been a problem in my lesbian relationship, I still am very thankful that I opened up with that part of me. And one thing that I also experienced is that when we broke up, the only confidant was to go to my mother, right? And what I experienced was really
a mother's embrace and no judgment. So it makes a whole lot of difference if you are proud of yourself, that your self-esteem is really one driving you to do what is good for, not just for yourself, but for common good.
Thank you so much. We have one more question. Yes, sir.
So thank you, Therese. Joe Presley, my pronouns are he, him, his. So Therese, I don't know when you wrote the last poem that's in the book, but I'm wondering, I was just sitting here listening to you read, listening to other people read your poems, and I'm wondering about, the fact that, there's been a lot going on in the world, right, in the last several years, or 2 years, if you bring it down even closer, and given what's going to happen on November 5th, given the crazy election cycle, I know this isn't a political event, but given the crazy campaign that we've seen over the past 12 months, if you were to write another poem about that, what would go into it? What would be your thoughts?
It's really, actually, I've looked at that, I've imagined what that would mean, right? And actually what we're going through is really a very dark tunnel. And if you are hopeful, but not lazy, right? We can change and make the results of the election ours. By the way we want. Well, I will not go into too many politics, but the point is, we can change the world. And it is not like a cliche, but you cannot just rest and be complacent. We've got to really work for that goal. And what drives us, we have to be hope. We have to have hope. Darkness is not our companion. It's not an ally.
You have that poem, actually, unfortunately, in Charlottesville. And there's a story in the book that actually forecasts, that talked about those dark days during the Trump administration. And there's a beautiful poem here after the Charlottesville riots and after the uprising. And so, while it does look forward, it looks back to sort of where we've been before, and as a reminder, some people, like where we might go again, and some of those challenges. It was really very beautiful.
Thank you. One more question, and then we wrap up, proceed to the book signing. So anyone, please? Yes, Justine.
I was wondering if you could talk about what your writing process is like.
Oh, Justine can introduce herself.
My name is Justine Koma. I'm a reporter with Vox Media, The Verge.
My writing process.
How do you write a poem? Do you just it just comes to you? Do you just set time away?
I had this small notebook, right? And I ride the J train from Queens to Manhattan. And when you ride the train, you really are enabled, a sea of people that you can observe. So that's kind of where I collect some of my images, the people along the way, white, are we all in the same direction? We're like all, cattle, we're all packed up. Those things come to mind. But I think what it is that I have, when somebody wins a refrigerator in a game show, I cry. Right? And maybe I have that kind of empathy, right? I mean, that sense of, I have that kind of feeling because those were the values that my grandmother and my mother raised. You should always be very, very kind and be generous. And, you kind of develop that sense of sensitivity. But working in Apicha is really just gives me a lot of sense of hope. It is hope because when you deal with the difficulties and always say, how can I help this person? So you're not thinking about so much the disease, right? You're thinking of how do you create the atmosphere, the situation where things can be, we can relieve the issue, right? So it's always there. You see if you're a problem solver, you kind of use the positive side of it, and sometimes I'm watching TV and then something is said by a talking head. I said, oh my God, what's that? So I'm kind of, then I get mesmerized in the process. But it's very different processes, but it is very, very consuming and very pleasant. And that's why I think everybody here is a poet. Please write. Because our children, the next generation, are going to ask, what happened then? And it would be so good to have the explanation of what happened now. And everyone has a story to tell. And that's our book, our high school jubilee book. That's the title, our stories to tell 50 years in retrospect. But it is not that hard because I don't write English well.
But you wrote poetry beautifully.
Thank you so much.
Yes, from GMP. Go ahead. The questions keep coming, but this is the last.
All right, this is the last time. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Boyet Laborita from Film Press Club, particularly GMA. This is my question. From the time of your AHA, with all this discrimination and being a minority, what's the biggest challenges that you came across, and that now you're CEO of Apicha and everything?
It takes a lot. When you're dealing with HIV, though, it is not the development of biotechnology has been superior because now we have a resolution on how we can prevent the spread of HIV. But the lack of love, the unkindness towards people who are, infected and also happen to be part of the LGBTQ plus community, that continues to be a struggle that we need to fight. It is in its ugliest form in the states where they are legalizing all of those attitudes of hatred. We are now going to have not only in November, but turning back all of those, laws that have been pushed, that have been passed in at least 21, states, need to be part of the work where we need to turn the ugly into one that is going to allow our community to thrive.
Thank you so much.
Current projects or ideas that you want to share after this major milestone?
Let me see. Joy has a very special project in Parañaque because what she wants to develop is for us to write some kind of a travel and historical book. And there are a number of us, townspeople who are really serious in working with her and seeing that we produce another material and stuff like that. I've also already begun to write some things, and I don't know if next let's hope we can do that. But in any case, I'm just going to take it easy a little bit. It was a very hard 2 years. But Apicha, when you want me to talk about Apicha another time, we have enough.
Awesome. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank Therese for you can take pictures with the author as well.
Bring your books forward, we'll be doing
You
it
can
right
also
here.
eat again.
Yes, please enjoy the food. Please, there's plenty of food. Some of you guys came in late, so this is the time to eat.
As you're busy with your signature moment with Therese, we would like to thank our guests and our sponsors for this event. The door, of course. Thank you, Kelsey. We would also like to thank AIDS Center of Queens County. Amida Care, CAI Global, Filipino American Press Club of New York, SAGE, the Alliance of Positive Change, The Door, and Women and Media. Enjoy everyone, and thanks again for coming. Until the next event of Apicha. Thank you to the hardworking Apicha staff.